So I wanted to kick something off like this for a little while now, and it's a little bit weird that this is going to be my first video effort into this, but there you have it. It's very, very, very down in the weeds. 0.1% of crypto folks are even going to take this on. So, but it's a very exciting project, and it's a project I'm very bullish on. It's called Phala, and Phala, in case you don't know, which most of you I assume don't, is a privacy-based cloud computing platform, meaning there's going to be trusted compute available to you on the cloud in a secretive way, using the SGX extensions of Intel processors specifically. You'll be able to do trusted compute in an enclave on the blockchain. And that's a lot of different words, and there's a lot of different ways to put them together, and that doesn't really even touch on the concept, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say that you live in the United States and you need to file your taxes for all of your crypto transactions for the year. You're not skating by on a VPN, and you're not trying to cheap out Uncle Sam with your crypto billions, which would be unusual. Good for you, upstanding citizen. But let's say that that's where you're at. Well, how do you process that information, right? You don't want to put it just in an Ethereum smart contract on the blockchain, because then anybody that knows your wallet ID is going to know what you have to pay in taxes, right? And they're going to see all of the stuff, and they're going to identify you with it, and you're not going to want to do that, right? So Phala is a way that I could create a program that would allow you to do your taxes in a trusted environment that would be on a blockchain. It would run on the blockchain, but the actual code and the outputs of that code wouldn't necessarily be public knowledge. And so in this particular case, we'd be using blockchain technology to solve a blockchain problem, ergo your taxes and your capital gains. Hopefully, your massive capital gains that you get from listening to other people's YouTube channels. Sorry about front-loading all of this with my philosophy there in my backyard. Here you can see this ASRock motherboard and the Intel Core i9. Picked up 64 gigs of RAM. These are pretty good sale items. Your budget may vary, but this is the iron that I picked up, and that's what's running in the box. So this is just a quick peek inside the case. The processor is there under the water block, and you can see the memory and the 2 terabyte NVMe all sitting here in this lovely ASRock motherboard. I don't have a way to show you the BIOS or the configuration of BIOS. Be sure that you follow other guides for turning on the hardware for SGX. So here you can see I have a fresh build of Linux Mint, and what Mint is showing me is that I've also installed this X11 VNC, and now I'm VNCing to it from a box that I can do some recording on. So I can't show you any of the BIOS settings or how to configure the hardware, but I can show you essentially from here. When you install Mint, this is just a base install. I did not install any of the codecs. I don't need any of that. The purpose of a GUI in Linux, as you probably know, is just to be able to show you the web and the commands that you're going to type in. So the first thing that we're going to do is set up KVM with the Intel SGX KVM extensions. I will put a link in the description so that you can see that below. Virtualizing Intel Software Guard extensions with KVM and Qemu. So this page is your best friend. This is what allows me to do the virtualization of SGX. And so like many people in the Phala forum have asked, can you do this? The answer in those forums is often no, but here what we're going to do is show you one way to do it. Now, I don't endorse this as a best practice. This is a little bit of an experiment to see if it can be done. Now, whether or not it should be done is probably up to you. It's not up to me. I'm just kind of doing this to put this out into the world and see what it does for the adoption of Phala, which is a technology that I believe in. So the first thing we want to do is respond to the update manager. And so here you can see Oh, switch to a local mirror. Yes, I'd absolutely want to do this. So given that we're going to be downloading lots of packages and doing lots of builds, we want to make sure that we're at a very fast mirror here for all of our downloads for Mint itself. So now we have our mirrors. Let's do the update. I won't need this to do that. We'll install updates from here. Go. Okay, we've reached the point where all those updates are applied, and I'm going to go ahead and reboot. Okay, and now we're rebooted, and I don't need this dialog anymore. Okay, what is this exclamation point for? System reports, new version of Mint, yeah, I don't care about that yet. Install the language packs, I'm going to ignore that. Ignore, I don't care about time shift. All right. So we are up to speed. Now what we're going to do is follow our Intel guide. Let's see if I can put a shell on the screen off to the side here. Looks like I can. And we're going to do this. Copy and paste. Password. Yes, please. So now, after doing this once, I know that there were a couple of things that didn't exactly match this guidance with Ubuntu 2004, and so I don't know if that's because of differences in Linux Mint, or if it's just sort of a bad break, I don't know, from the documentation. But what I ended up researching and doing to fix it was installing these two development libraries. No, honest. Log USB 1-1.0-O dev, and there we go. I'm going to put this into a little work directory here. Like so. And paste. There we go. Missed in one. Surprised it's not in the Build Essentials package, but there you have it. There we go. Okay, it occurs to me that I forgot to talk. I'm probably not going to speed through this part. Okay. Now then, prepare for the kernel build, setting a shell variable that defines the build area. All right. Okay, now in this menu config, this is where we're going to go look for SGX. To enable SGX support in KVM guests, you must enable the core functionality in the kernel from the processor type and features. So if we come over here, we go down to processor type and features, and we're going to go look for SGX. There we are. So here, here, and then it says we also want to go look these up. Kernel. These should already be loadable modules. M instead of an asterisk. You should not have to change anything. Kernel-based KVM. On the virtualization menu. So we'll save this. And then we'll go up a level. Virtualization. KVM and virt.io, all of that is enabled as modules. So we've double checked that, and that's all good. All right. Make opt. And I hope you enjoy my accelerated music here. Okay, I apparently should have used a -J switch there. I should have sped that up, but we're back. So, all right, let's do the next chunk of this. It's been so long compiling that it doesn't believe that I'm logged in. Very well. Okay, and then we just do the install. Kaboom. And this is just going to rebuild our boot kernel here. So this will take a second, and I'm going to reboot after this. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back from our reboot here. So what do we see? uname-r. We have our new kernel. Awesome. All right. And this is where we are. And for the piece de resistance, message, grab SGX. Boom. There it is. All right, so it's part of the kernel. SGX is live. All right, so now let's go on to building Qemu. And we will do these guys here. That'll take a second. check this out. Oops. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. So, Victor build, cd build. This is the configure line. Copy and paste this one. Now, when I first ran this, you remember those USB libraries that we downloaded? If you don't do that, then these guys don't turn to yes, and you run into problems later with the VM if you want to use a GUI on it. So there's no USB redirection. So that is something that I fixed. Okay, so there, scripts, this.
And the book, you can keep that. It's nice. I know that.
Girls are noisy. They've been painting in my daughter's room all day, some of the neighbor kids. It's now dark, so Mom came over to look for him. Script submodule. Alright. Let's try this again. Thought we ran that. Let's continue on the Qemu path. So here, I'm going to test that I can run a VM. And sure enough, it creates a VM. It boots it up to Pixie, which I don't have running here. So this is what you can see. No bootable device, which is correct. So this just means that there's a hypervisor working in the background. So we've compiled all the right stuff, and we have a working hypervisor. So to get out of this, you do a Control A and C. And X, oh, quit, sorry. Install this one. All right, this talks about what it takes to create a VM that enables SGX. So I'm going to skip past that because I'm going to assume that that's working at the moment. This is another thing that has to pass through. So these are important things to understand about how Qemu works if you're into the low-level details. But those are not the configuration that make it work for us going forward. So I'm going to do this. I think Vert Manager is already installed. I'm already root, so I'm just going to use my bad habit. Yes, let's install those things. All right. Configuring AppArmor, I'm going to do this. This is going to be a node that I plan to run for a long time, so I'm going to assume that I'm going to run AppArmor because that's a good practice. So oh, really? perhaps this this machine is a little too minty fresh, too new. Don't have a couple of my favorite tools. Actually, probably don't have that either. Okay, I'm going to expand this a bit. Add this. Alright. And we're also going to do that. Okay. Provision. So let's see, webvert QE conf. All right, there's a few things we have to change in here. So I'm going to go looking for the C group. All right, so we're going to add a couple of items to it. Okay. Oh. And then we need to go find the user. And this is what we're going to do here. And then we're going to look for AppArmor. Okay. If you're using AppArmor for the security driver, you'll also need to modify this file. Okay, let's grab you. You have to add that permission line to it. All right. Okay. Install a test VM. I am going to not do that. Feel like I am in pretty good shape here so far. Okay, I had to restart to get Qemu and KVM, the right versions loaded, the right modules loaded. I didn't realize I had to do that at that step. So now it looks like we can go ahead and create a new VM, which I'll do here in a minute. In the background, I'm going to go ahead and start downloading Linux Mint Mate 20, which is exactly what we're using here. So, save file. And that should go on in the background. All right, so let's create a new. Oh, it's gonna, yep, I have to have the disk first. All right, well, I'll be back in a second. So I have downloaded Linux Mint 20, the Mate version, which is exactly the version that's running in the base reality here. So this is gonna be what's running in our VM. So let's go forward. So now I'm going to browse for that CD-ROM. Let's add a volume here. No, that's not what I want. Browse local. There we go. So here's that CD. It says it doesn't detect. As far as any of these hypervisors are concerned, Ubuntu is the right answer when dealing with Mint. All right, so let's do 16384 and 8 CPUs. Now, you might say, well, 8 CPUs is the whole machine, and that's correct. But the whole point of virtualizing here is to have the machine do something else in the background. And if that something doesn't involve using any of the SGX EPCs, then we should be good to go. And we're, probably don't, put something that's going to vastly oversubscribe here. So, I intend for this machine to be part of the 1605 race, which you'll see in a minute. So I'm going to dedicate all 8 CPUs to this effort for that. And whatever other productivity I get out of the machine is just kind of a bonus. So, okay, and this is going to be a blockchain. So I'm going to do 1024 gig. The name is going to be Phala VM. I'm going to customize this configuration a little before install. I don't want to do NAT. Okay, I want to be on the host machine bridging here. I don't want to, be hidden away. It's going to basically act like it's on my LAN here, and I'm fine with this. There are some issues, but if you're used to dealing with VMs, you've probably dealt with them already. Okay, some other options in here. Let's see. On the boot options, there we go. You want to enable the CD-ROM. I'm going to move that up. Start virtual machine on host boot up. Okay, now since I know that I'm going to have a Phala node in here, I'm going to click that because I want this to start when this machine reboots. So let's apply these. The next thing is network. I did use a slightly different network card. Don't need sound. Yes. Nick. Gonna do this guy. And apply. All right. And now I feel fairly confident in this configuration. On the XML editing preferences are disabled at this time, so I'm not going to worry about that just quite yet. You'll see what has to happen here. So the virtual machine is now being created. All right, so I have that downloaded. Ta-da! Okay. So guess what? Now we're back where we were before I started the video with installing Linux Mint. Except this time I'm installing it here in this VM. So this should go stupidly fast since this is all on NVMe. I don't need these multimedia codecs. I disabled the sound, for crying out loud. Why are you even asking? Okay. And this, I'm not even speeding this up. So I may speed this up in post-edit depending on how long it takes, but my hunch is it's only going to take a few seconds to mostly create or entirely create this. Yes, Honolulu. All right. computer's name, Ocean Blue. Oh, actually, this is not. This is Phala VM. All right. And my username and password. And you can see it's already copied this many of the files along the way. So this is a fairly quick machine. 2 terabyte NVMe is a superpower for sure. All right. Now, there's one last detail in here. Once we restart this, oh, actually, there are 2 little details. So the first detail is how to get SGX into this VM. So right now, it's just a plain VM. It doesn't know anything about SGX or EPC. We have to add those into here as resources. So we'll do that by editing the XML file. Just to answer a question that nobody's asked, I do use the Cinnamon desktop if I'm installing Mint for my own sort of personal desktop-y kind of use. Let's do force off. All right. Yes. I find that if I use Mate for things that I want to be able to run as kind of a server, a pseudo server, enable XML editing. All right, now I can come over here to this XML and make some edits. So the first edit is this one right here, this domain type. And if you don't do this, basically this schema, if you don't add that schema, it won't preserve the changes that you want to make. Okay, so we need to make sure that the emulator is set to our created emulator under devices. And it is. User local. Okay. And then finally, we need to add these guys in. And these are the things that require the schema. So if I go after devices here, paste that in. All right. Apply this. And does it keep it all? It does. Okay, cool. And one last detail, I want to take the disk out so that it doesn't boot the CD. Perfect. All right. In fact, I can actually do this now. So there we go. Apply. And, oh, right, one more thing. Display. Right, so the display, I'm going to use a VNC server. So listen type is address. Hypervisor default is going to be all interfaces, meaning I can reach this from outside of the box. It's just on my LAN at home, which is fairly secure, so I'm not terribly worried about it. I'm going to assign this because I'm already running VNC. Let's go 6100. Throw a password here. And key map is US or English. There we go. Okay. Apply that. Now I should be able to boot this guy up. All right, very cool. And let's see what happens if I come over here. Aha. Linux 20 mate. Looks like it's counting down. It's not an EFI boot, but that's okay. And now we're in the VM, Phala VM. So, log into this. Welcome to Linux Mint. Don't show this at startup. Don't show this again. Now, similar to what we did at the start of the video, I'm gonna come back in here and say, okay, let's set what we need to set. Let's change this to 19 by 2. Or like that, I should say. All right, let's keep it. Move it into our recording window. Ta-da! All right, I definitely want to keep it. Cool. Now, updates, just like we did before. Deja vu all over again. Okay, updating from EvoWise. Your mileage may vary, but I know in the middle of the ocean, this is all I'm getting. So, all right, close that up. Apply the updates. I know what you're wondering. You're like, just show me the prompt, show me the SGX, show me that it's working. Have confidence. A little bit of faith is due at this point.